You did exactly what I did in that you worked in the corporate world for many, many years, and then you made the leap to being a founder, to being an entrepreneur. Why did you make that transition? And I guess, what did you learn from going from big companies to then, starting something from scratch?
Very good question. I had an experience actually where they talk about climate anxiety, and I think I had some kind of version of that. That meant, I remember actually one day, way back when I was a fashion designer, I did 200 sketches in one day for a fast fashion brand. And that was at the time when actually sustainability was beginning to be a lot more on the agenda.
Okay.
And I felt really guilty about, why on earth does the world need this many products?
Sure,
and then the data coming out actually on the environmental impact of these fast fashion brands. And I began, that kind of got me thinking about, okay, so the shopping experience is quite difficult. How do we get more people shopping secondhand? There's got to be a solution here. And with all the technology available to us, all that we can build, that's really kind of where my sort of first inkling of, I really want to do something different here, and I'm kind of not satisfied with the status quo of how this is working.
Yeah. It's
too difficult for the customer. We can't blame the customer for not shopping sustainably if we're not giving them a good enough shopping experience.
Sure. Okay.
So that was really the main thing. So I left and I did a tech accelerator program.
Okay, cool.
Which was very much like a kind of mixture between...
Like a boot camp, academy.
It was like, exactly. Yeah. It was like Dragon's Den mixed with The Apprentice, mixed with an MBA all at once. And then I, started building the business from scratch, which was the best decision I've ever made, and has been an extremely exciting experience since then.
I think for most people, just the hardest part of entrepreneurship is just starting. Because I was with a big corporate for over 5 years, and it was always next year when I was going to start a company, and then something would happen, and then it was always the next year, and always. But just like, if you just start, the rest is just momentum afterwards, right? And 99.9% of people just don't start to begin with, right? What advice would you give to people that are in corporate world? Maybe they've been doing it for a while, they've had this idea of starting a company, they're not quite sure about it. You've been there, you've done it, I've been there, I've done it. What advice would you give to people that want to make that transition?
I think the interesting thing, I referenced my father at this point, who was an entrepreneur, and he said, "Darling, if you can roll out of bed in the morning and enjoy what you do, then we're on to something." And I think if someone has a good idea or sees an opportunity for the way a system can work better, I always think step one is just to begin to start writing down your ideas, formulate some kind of story around it, and just get out there and start going to talk to people. Yeah. And I think one of the early stage founders sometimes think, I'm going to keep my idea to myself and not tell anyone. But actually, you soon realise it's completely the opposite. You go to every event in London that might be relevant and start meeting people, meeting investors, having conversations, and getting to hear about people's reactions and what their journey was like, and what would step one be if I was to start getting some feedback from real people about actually would they buy this and what the appetite is. Yeah,
I've always struggled to understand how people can build something in stealth. Because maybe in their world it works, but in everything that I've ever done, I need constant feedback. And I've created something very basic. What do you think? Oh, you want this to be changed this way? You want this? Oh, okay, change it. Okay, come back. Hey, what's your impression this time? So, constant iterations and updates, I find works much better for me, as opposed to trying to spend years and millions building something, and then you show the world, and then nobody wants it.
Yes, absolutely. I think I did a very similar thing actually, and when very kind of early days, I started to kind of build what I thought would be what the platform would look like myself. Literally fudging it all together in Photoshop. There's a InVision, so you can build basically a clickable prototype. I think the advice would be to any founder who's wanting to kind of test and learn early stages to do exactly that. Spend absolutely no money, and start to show some people, is this something you'd be interested in? Would you pay money for this? like how would you do it differently? Like what's
Yeah.
the experience like? And that's exactly what I did. And I took a lot of inspiration from Spotify and Instagram
Yeah.
to kind of really bring that kind of storytelling into secondhand fashion.
Yeah.
One of the things our technology does really well is this kind of matching technology.
Okay.
So you are recommended actually individual products that you are more likely to like and buy,
Yeah, yeah.
but also individual sellers on our platform.
Okay.
And yeah, so building that prototype was actually really fun.
So it's connecting not just a product, but hey, you bought this from this individual, or you looked at this piece for a while, here's 5 more from that same person that you might find interesting.
Yeah, it's actually a lot more in depth than that. It goes into, okay, so this seller profile has a certain sort of style, a style profile, and it will match people to sellers in terms of style and also similar brands, price points. And then layering over that is all the behavioural learning, which kind of builds over time, and it sort of the algorithm learns. The technology that we used very early days was literally off the shelf, just to sort of test on real people before building the business and building what is now StyleSwap today.
Yeah.
And we were really actually really lucky to win a sustainability and innovation grant.
Okay, cool.
At the time from Innovate UK, which is backed by the UK government, and that really kind of catapulted us into having enough funding to build a team, and work around machine learning and build out our sort of algorithm, which was really an amazing experience, given it was COVID at the time, and very intense period of learning and building, but really fantastic at the same time.
You mentioned around building a team there. I think that's the biggest hurdle that entrepreneurs have when they start. That firstly they start, and then great, they've made it into the club. But then how do they go from a solo operator, to actually building and scaling a team? It's about hiring, about recruiting, about culture, about values and principles. What's important to you when building a team? How do you build a high-performance culture within the business?
So actually, interestingly, I think from quite an early stage, we had kind of built out our advisory board. Yeah. We've had support from individuals that have either worked in or have worked at big luxury fashion retailers like Net-a-Porter, Farfetch and Harrods. And my CTO actually, he's a sort of, his focus has very much been on machine learning for, God knows, 20 years. Yeah. But he also is very well, he's done a lot of work in the luxury fashion sector as well. Okay. So interestingly, whether that's been recommendations for recruiters or introductions through those networks, that's always been, I think, really valuable for us to be able to recruit the right people quickly, because it's such a long process of trying to find the right people, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I can speak to that. Yeah.